So free agency, the period is now out there. Money is flying. All these GMs are throwing money at some available free agents. How busy do you think Kent Hughes will be throughout this free agent period? Stu, I'll start with you.
Well, they don't have much salary cap room, so I don't think they're going to be very busy. I think the determining factor is if they trade Jeff Petrie, or if they can move Jeff Petrie, it'll free up some salary cap space, obviously. And then the name I look at that might be appealing to him was like John Klingberg, right-hand shot defenseman, younger than Petrie, maybe a little bit cheaper. Hughes has said that if you lost Petrie, he'd want to bring in a veteran defenseman to replace him. So that's the guy that I think, just looking at the list of available free agents, that's appealing to me. But, Rem Pitlick, they didn't give him a qualifying offer because they can't afford to go to arbitration with him. They're tight right up against the cap. So until they either find out what's happening with Carey Price, which is going to be a little while, I think, or until they can move Jeff Petrie, Kent Hughes' hands are pretty much tied. So I don't expect them to do much during this free agency period because of that.
Yeah, I think there's a few defensemen that they can look at. The ones that make the most sense to me are more like reclamation projects, guys who you want on short-term deals that you can come over and be coached by Marty St. Louis and rediscover your game a little bit and then get traded at the deadline, because they need to insulate the young players that they have on defense, but they don't need to find someone to follow through for the next 8 years, right? Or 7 years, max free agency contract. From what I'm hearing, John Klingberg is asking for $8 million on a max contract, which just doesn't fit with the Montreal Canadiens, right? And he's also taken a bit of a dive the last couple of years in terms of his effectiveness, where Heiskanen has taken over the tough minutes in Dallas. So I look at guys that are not big names per se, but could fit in an insulation role to help the younger players ascend a little bit while the Canadiens continue to try to not necessarily be awful, but be bad enough to get into the top 5 next year and take one of Bedard, Fantilli, or Michkov. Guys like a Calvin DeHaan, a Justin Schultz, and Ian Cole would be a safe bet as a guy who just plays calm hockey, right? He doesn't make many mistakes. Or a Ryan Murray, who just won a Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche, but didn't play, which is surprising because he's been a pretty decent defenseman throughout his entire career. So he's a guy who might have a chance to play relatively large minutes with the Montreal Canadiens and make big bank on his next contract.
With Klingberg, as you say, what you ask for and what you're going to get can be two very different things.
This is true, especially in a flat cap world.
Exactly, in a flat cap world. So it's one thing to say, I want $8 million. It's another thing to say someone's going to give you that.
Yeah, and the Canadiens are in a tough spot. Like you touched on that, they don't have a lot of room in their cap. I mean, unless they're able to unload some contracts with Petrie and Carey Price, because there's no point in talking about some of these names. I mean, you talk about Goudreau, who's making $6.75 million. Yeah, great player, but you know what? They don't have any money to pay a guy like that. Klingberg, again, you mentioned him. He wants these huge dollars. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to have to find a way to really prioritize. Okay, can we find a way to get our numbers down under our salary cap to maybe make a stab at some of their free agents? But man, oh man, they're demanding so much money. Some of these guys, it's really tough to sign any real big name players. So as Andrew had mentioned, a couple of guys like off the beaten path, so to speak, that they can maybe find that they can become affordable to become part of the team. But until they move some salary, I don't see how they're going to be very active in the in the process.
Maybe there is a GM out there who will give Klingberg $8 million. I think it was Brian Burke who used to say the biggest mistakes GMs ever make are on July 1st, which is the usual free agency day. Now this year, July 13th, but maybe there is some GM who will do it. And a lot of GMs make dumb moves on free agency day. I remember the Leafs signing was a Jeff Finger. I remember the front page of the Toronto paper the next day was Leafs give fans the finger.
Didn't somebody, I remember watching some video a couple months ago saying that it's possible that the Leafs, they gave Jeff Finger all that money. It's entirely possible they meant to scout someone else and sign that player.
That was actually confirmed. It was confirmed. There was 2 Colorado Avalanche defensemen who were unrestricted free agents, and they thought Jeff Finger is who they wanted to sign, but it was actually Kurt Sauer.
Yeah.
Kurt Sauer went somewhere else.
Good Lord. Yeah. Oh,
That's the old Leafs.
It was one of the
By
great
the way-
headlines and one of the great sports headlines in a newspaper. Leafs give fans the finger.
by the way, John Klingberg is 29 years old.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the peak now, but if you're trying to give someone like that term, you have to be very careful about that.
Yep.
But judging by all of your answers, it doesn't seem as if the Kent Hughes and the Montreal Canadiens are going to be dipping into that free agent pool. Maybe some trades, though. If they're trying to offload some salary, but not much in terms of free agency.
Yeah, I think also the Kirby Doc trade kind of solves the one thing that they had, right? Is I know that Hughes had mentioned he was looking at maybe getting a veteran center, but now they have Suzuki, Dvorak, Doc, and Evans down the middle. It's not, a playoff center line right now, but it's decent. It'll get you through a season.
Yeah. It could be worse. I mean, it can't really get much worse than whatever they played last year, right?
This is true.
That was really bad. Anyway, let's do. You can finish. You have the last thought.
Sharp could come back as coach.
Oh, the slander! I love it. Well, slander.
That's not gonna happen.
No, that's not gonna happen. Subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out show on YouTube. Subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out newsletter, and visit hockeyinsideout.com for more full episodes and other fun articles from the likes of Brendan Kelly. You can go back to some of the About Last Nights from Eric Leon as well. A lot of great stuff on Hockey Inside Out. A lot of great stuff. Go check it out.